Here we are, freelancer. You ready to jump in?
Yes, I am.
Well then, let's not keep that big bad world waiting.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and some Anthem gameplay that I was actually able to record over at DICE in Stockholm in December. So thank you very much to EA and DICE for inviting me over to get a first look at this game. And I appreciate all of you showing interest for this game and wanting me to cover it after I tweeted about getting the opportunity to play it, as well as some of the questions you wanted me to answer in this video. And before anyone says, oh my god, Anthem updates, no, don't worry. I'll make probably one video now and then one at the launch with my full impressions, and then I'll simply judge what you guys think about it and if I should stream it or not, because I'm probably gonna play it, so the question is just if you want to see it in the streams or if you don't want to see it. But that's something I will see after the reaction of this video and the next video I do. So basically what I can do in this video is show you some footage of the Arcanist mission. And what I want to do is give you my first initial impressions of the gameplay and everything that I can talk about regarding that. Because to clarify, this is not a final build at all. A lot of things you will be seeing are subject to change. And I won't be showing you any menu footage or from the social hubs or the loot rewards or anything like that. But it's purely going to be gameplay based here in the actual Arcanist mission, which is obviously going to limit a little bit what I can talk about, but it can still give you a good idea of how the gameplay is actually going to be and how I thought it worked out overall. And I wanted to start off before I go into some of your questions and similarly simply giving my opinions on it, as well as what kind of expectations I went into before playing this. If you watched my channel for quite a while, you might know that I played quite a lot of Destiny 1. And I always thought and wondered, would Anthem be similar? Because I did enjoy Destiny 1, but I did get bored of it after a while. So I was curious, what was Anthem going to do differently? What was it going to do similarly? And it was more different than I expected it to be, in a good way I would say. Because Destiny to me felt more like, it's a not straight up shooter, but it is a shooter in its core, I would say. Versus that's not really the case with Anthem. Anthem was a lot more free, and the whole combat is very based around flight as well, because you can fly freely up, down, left, right, back, forward. You can hover in the air, which really adds a whole new level of verticality to the gameplay. Yes, there are some areas during missions where you cannot fly, which I guess makes sense, so that you're not always going to be flying and be able to fly up in the corner of the room to take cover. But most of the gameplay you do fly around, and I have to give props for the actual flying mechanics, because they were extremely fluent and I never felt like it was annoying or anything didn't feel right. It was just incredibly smooth experience flying around, simply put. And we did play on PC here with mouse and keyboard, just to clarify, so I don't know how it works out on console, but I'd imagine it's probably pretty similar. So there are 4 Javelins, and I feel like I should probably explain that first, because a lot of you might not know what a Javelin is. Basically, you don't pick a class in this game. You have your character, but then you have Javelins, which is like exosuits that you can then upgrade, and they have their different abilities. There are 4 of them as far as I know. The Ranger, which is kind of the default overall Javelin, the Colossus, which is a big tank, the Interceptor, which is a very agile and fast one, and then the Storm, which is the one you will be seeing in this footage, as I just felt like that fit me perfectly with all the kind of, I wouldn't say magic abilities, because it's not really magic, it's connected to the Anthem, and it's a bit complicated. I'm not gonna get into that now, but think of it a bit like a Warlock in other games. A lot of spells, abilities, cool stuff like that, and I think I also was able to fly better than some of the other classes in terms of like hovering in the air. And yes, I did have some force lightning-ish abilities. I don't think I will be able to show all of them here, because I swapped them out after this mission, so I do have one lightning ability here, but that's also one thing that I thought was so much fun. And that kind of surprised me, and that you have so many different abilities you can swap out. Like after every mission I got a new piece of equipment that I can put in the armor that completely switched it out. So at some point I had icicles I was shooting, and then I did like a lightning storm from above. At one point I literally had, it pretty much looked like force lightning. I was able to zap enemies pretty quickly, zap, 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 and do damage that way. And then I had something where I could freeze the enemies, and then I had fire. It was a lot of different abilities, and again, this is an early build we played, so I'm not sure how often you will be getting those new abilities when you actually play the game. But when I played for the, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours maybe during the event, I probably tested out like 10 different abilities and combos, which add a lot of variety to it, and I never felt like one was just, oh, this is so much better than the other one, but I felt like, okay, it's completely different playstyles, so depending on what I like, I can try to swap it out. And obviously I was also able to customize how my Javelin looks. The customization was actually pretty darn in-depth. I can't show that here, but I think I made my Storm pretty much completely white because I thought that would look pretty neat. But you can swap out colors and all kinds of stuff of pretty much every individual little part of your Javelin. So other than having all these cool abilities when actually playing, I think they did a really good job on the kind of, I don't know what you call that actually, but like feedback when you hit and kill people. Because I think that's incredibly important for a game where you do kill a lot of mobs, where getting a headshot feels satisfying, where comboing different abilities feels satisfying, and when killing them feels satisfying. Because to be fair, that's something you will be doing a lot, obviously, if you're PvEing, which means that it's important to me, at least, that it feels good, and it did here. It was very satisfying when you hit someone in the head with your gun, or if you combine like the icicles to freeze them and then comboed with a melee afterwards to kill them and get a combo pop up. They did a really good job on that, which I think is quite important. And I think that's really the main thing that I want to and can talk about here and judge properly, which is the core gameplay. Because there are a lot of other things I'll get to a bit later in the video. But as for the core gameplay, I genuinely thought it was really fun. It was something that I felt like this I could do for quite a while. I wasn't bored after the 4 hours. And the big part of that was that I could swap out so many of my abilities and weapons to make different combinations. So every time I went out on a mission, I swapped something out to try a new combo. And unfortunately I can't show that right here, but I'm planning to do one more video on Anthem at least, closer to the launch, when I get the opportunity to play the full game, as then I will be able to show you a lot more combos, a lot more parts of the game and all that kind of stuff. So keep in mind that if I'm not answering your question here, please leave them in the comments below and I will make sure to answer them for that video instead. So yeah, the core gameplay I really think is great, both in terms of the feedback feels, the guns feels, the different abilities, and most importantly that the flying feels incredibly fluid, and the way you can hover in the air, go forward or do whatever combos you want felt really good and extremely smooth. But in terms of the whole game, which I would say is probably more important, to be honest, like what can you do, how many missions are there, how's the multiplayer, how's the longevity of the game, those are things I simply cannot judge now. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that oh, I could play this game for months, because I don't know. All I can say is I really enjoyed the core gameplay, and that's something that really intrigued me and something that made me want to play more. And since I do have Origin Access Premiere already, I'll get Anthem for free, which means I have no reason to not try it, and then we'll see how long I'll play it for. I hope it's going to be something where I always feel like I have new stuff to discover. And also something that I thought was worth bringing up here is the fact that the game doesn't actually have any PvP at launch as far as I know. And that's something I don't know if it's going to be an issue or not, because personally, for me, I pretty much only play games that have some type of PvP. I mean, Destiny had some PvP, even World of Warcraft or RuneScape, just to bring up some very different games I've played, all had PvP. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect my willingness to play this for longer periods of time, because I always want some type of PvP element so that I can challenge myself towards other players. That might happen after launch. I don't actually know what the state of that is. I just looked for some articles and stuff and it says there wasn't going to be any PvP at launch. So I am a little bit worried about that. I'm not even sure how the PvP could work with these kind of javelins. Since you fly around, it might not work very nicely, but nevertheless, I wanted to bring it up as I think that's something that might affect the longevity of the game. So yeah, moving on to some of your questions. Yeah, a lot of you asked about the different javelins. I unfortunately only played the Storm here because I really enjoyed it that much. Or I did get to play a little bit of the Ranger, as that's your starting javelin, but I definitely enjoyed the Storm more than I enjoyed the Ranger. So I think the Storm, I know I shouldn't say that because I haven't tried the Colossus or the Interceptor, but just based on the people I played with, what they did with those different javelins, I just feel like Storm is my kind of playstyle, because I read up on what all they did, all the abilities they had before I picked one. I'll probably try all of them, don't get me wrong, but I think the Storm is going to be my favorite, so that's why I recorded at least this mission with the Storm here. And that's how I asked here, if different classes can we switch out of, like Destiny for example. So like I said, you don't have a class, but you have a javelin. You have one character you play as, but then you can have different javelins that you customize and upgrade which I guess sort of acts like classes, but you don't have to create a new character for it. It's simply an exosuit that you put on and customize. Customization, again, I brought up most of it. I tried out a lot of different ability combos. I don't know how fast you will actually be unlocking those in the live game, but that's definitely something that I thought was really good. And same goes for the customization of the visual part, where you could change the color of every little part of the gear pretty much. More curious about the end of quest rewards outside of just the loot. This I don't think I can show anything of, and I'm not really sure exactly how quest rewards and similarly work. I just know that after these missions I did get some loot. And then I went in and checked my customization and went, oh look, I've got this new ability that I can swap out. So instead of shooting icicles, I can now shoot lightning instead. So that's kind of how it worked, and I got a lot of those new abilities like I mentioned. Again, not sure if that's going to be how fast you get them in the real game, but that's the main thing from the different missions. Every time I did a mission, I went and checked my loot and saw if I had any new abilities or weapons that I could swap out to. I'm interested in if the story is worthwhile, but that's probably the one thing you didn't get to experience much. So yeah, that's true. I can't really judge the story too much. I do have to say that the whole overall story is a little bit confusing for someone who is not too read up on the whole universe, like what the Anthem is and how it's all linked together. I think if you play more of the game, you get some explanation. I definitely felt like some of the missions we played did help explain that, but if you just jump in there with not a lot of prior knowledge like myself, it can be a bit confusing as to what the story is. So if the story is the main thing, maybe you need to read up a little bit in advance, because I know they have released a lot of content explaining what the Anthem is and the backstory and all that kind of stuff. So it is explained pretty well in the different missions, but I definitely think that it could be a little bit confusing at first for a new player. Is it fun to jump back in after you played it? And yeah, I definitely think so. After those 4 hours or so of gameplay, I did not feel like I got bored at all, and that's even after I played some missions multiple times over and over. And a lot of big part of this is both that the combat is fun and that I could swap out a lot of the abilities, so it wasn't like I for 5 hours used the same weapon, the same abilities and things like that. And to be fair, I could have created a new Javelin if I wanted to have even more variety in there, but I played only with the Storm. So I would say so, yeah. It's tricky to say again how long this will last, because I can't judge that based on this, but I definitely want to give this game a chance and see if it keeps being this fun. I think I can see myself playing it for quite a while. But I think that's all I wanted to say about Anthem as of right now. Again, I will have at least one more Anthem video closer to the launch, if not maybe some live streams, depends on what you guys think. I'd love to try it out and see what you guys think. And for the video, I'll probably be a bit more in-depth and talk about all the different aspects of the game that I hopefully get a chance to test out, and then I can give the full game a better judgment, simply put. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.